we had a good ozone shift, so it wasn't like we had a big breakdown. It's a good play by them to sneak away. Got the save, and then special teams were good. We needed to be. Then you get to 4-0, and after the second period, I think there's parts there we might have lost our competitive edge for some shifts. You got to be real careful of that this time of the year. It's not a January game where the team's moving on to their next opponent, so are we. So we talked about that between periods, and so I liked our game. Obviously, there's still things we'll look at that we know we can do better, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's a good performance by us. Our guys were ready to play.
Front left.
Cassidy Ranger at the Athletic. How worried were you when Jack left the ice the way he did after the hit, and how big was that for the group for him to come back and set up a goal on his first shift?
Yeah, obviously when it happens, but he got up, he skated off. That's always step number one. He's not, on the ice and needing assistance. So he got hit hard. In between periods, I asked him, he's fine. And that's, it's easier to laugh about, not laugh, but it's okay to get hit in June. This is part of the journey. It hurts to win, and it's not supposed to be easy. So good for him. I think he saw some of it coming, but not enough to get out of the way. It was a clean hit. That's hockey, and we were very, very, I think, as a group, great to see him come back. Not only does it give us juice, but sometimes it can take away juice from the other team if they see a guy come back. So it was good for the group.
Left side, second row.
Bruce Seaborn from Associated Press. You said yesterday your power play has been hit or miss all year. Very good tonight. How nice is it to see it clicking at this particular time? Well,
if you're playing against one of the most penalized teams in the league in the regular season and the most in the playoffs, so you're going to get on the power play. If you're working to draw your penalties, so you might as well. It's important that it's working, because if not, you can really lose momentum, and they can gain momentum from kills. So that's the importance of it right now. We score 5-on-5. We've won a lot of games without having it to perform at a high level, but it's certainly another weapon or another way to create offense that is going to help. So it's picking a good time to get going.
Left side, standing up.
How much of toughness is discipline?
Toughness, there's probably a lot of things that go into it. The description of that, taking a hit to make a play, blocking shots. It's not about fighting and winning your puck battles. To me, discipline is more the mental toughness part of it, right? Knowing that it's easy to retaliate and get your sort of instant gratification, but to hold it in takes a lot more. And try to pick your spot later, especially if you feel you've been wronged out there. And listen, hockey can be a violent game, so that's why guys lose it. They're disciplined sometimes, and we get it. But we've done a terrific job, I think, of getting it back. If there's pockets of the game that looks like it might disappear, let's get it back. Sort of reset, focus on your next shift, and get back to playing. That's a credit to the group. It's a mature group, and if we have to take a punch in the face, to win, you guys understand there's going to be a little bit of that.
Right side, second row.
Dan Rosen, NHL.com. Bruce, do you feel through these first two games that your depth is just overwhelming them?
I think our depth has been a strength all year. That's how I'll answer it, and I think it's one of the reasons. It is the biggest reason we are still here. Why we beat Winnipeg, Edmonton, Dallas, and why we're heading east forward. If that answers your question, I just feel that we have the best team from player 1 through 20. That's just how I feel. They might have some better players or a better penalty killer, power player, or it's brought up goaltender. Now we're starting to see that our guy's pretty good too. So I do believe it's been the big strength of our team. Whether it's overwhelming, that's a strong word. I just think it's been really good for us.
Left side, third row.
François Gagnon from RDS in Montreal. Bruce, I just want to come back on discipline. It's one thing to ask the players to be disciplined. It's another thing to get it. And how tough is it to make sure that, you said you take a punch in the face and you have to take it.
Well,
but how much is it tough to make sure that you get it?
That's the Martinez, that's the Petrangelos in the room, that have won. They know what the journey, what it involves. And you may get an opponent where it's not required as much. But typically it is. If you're going to play a series and the temperature goes up, it's just going to be required. I think every guy understands that. Honestly, even the guys that haven't won, that've been in, had some previous experience, they know. That's it. you gotta decide. And so that's on the player, and good for our guys, really good for our guys. Now, I think if it's projected from the coaching staff and the leaders, yes, then it should be kind of into the team. And I think it started with this team a long time ago. Guys that long before I got here, but it's certainly an area that we talked about all season, like stay off the refs, worry about your next shift, play whistle to whistle. We feel that tonight's game was a man's game. We can perform fine in those games. In fact, we can excel in those games, and our guys understand that. A certain amount of excelling in those games is knowing there's going to be some hits you're going to get on the wrong side of, or some battles, and you got to make sure you hit back in those situations and win your share of battles. And I think our guys are really good.
Take 2 more questions, front left.
Danny Lester, Las Vegas Sun. You expected pushback from them, and obviously Aiden had another strong game, but between that and the 2 goals at the time, those goals came. How huge was the first period in setting the tone tonight?
Well, what happens in the playoffs, usually your team will respond that's on the wrong end of the score, right? So we've seen that a lot. We've been there. I don't think Florida's lost consecutive games since the first round at home, if I'm not mistaken. So, you expect that. So scoring first matters. You get it on the power play. I think was that the Montour penalty, the first one too. It's not a penalty preventing a goal or scoring chance, right? So you want to take advantage of those, and that helps you get going. Get the next one, and now maybe maybe the goaltender has a little doubt in his mind. He's been very, very good. So it's all about creating some doubt too for them, because they've been the story of the playoffs. So you want to put some doubt in their mind. I think that start did that.
I agree. In your review journal, you talked about the breakaway save. You also had 6 on a PK. Before it got out of hand, can you judge Aiden's performance before the margin kind of grew?
Well, I mean, the third goal again, they hadn't shot a puck in the net. Like one went in off Aiden himself, Stalls the other night. The other one off White Cloud. Tonight's the first one went off Marty. So he's stopping everything he's seeing, right? Which is great for us and great for him. That's could be a real event if you ask Florida. I didn't see every game of their previous series. It sounds like their guy was playing unbelievable too, right? You can give your team a huge lift. You can relax. Not every mistake is magnified in those situations. So, it's what's required this time of year. We don't want to rely on him over and over. I think later in the second period we got a little bit like that. We took some penalties and made some, let's not put it all on him, but there's going to be stretches of games. I've said this, we're an imperfect team where we need him to be that guy, and he